So I got a great practical application question for you, and I really like this because I've seen water fountains, and if you go to Las Vegas and stuff, you see these really cool water fountains, and they're all spraying arcs of water back and forth and back and forth. And when I look at this, I think, math, quadratic functions. Oh, baby, this is so cool. So I took an example here, and I said water is spraying from a nozzle of a fountain that forms a parabolic arch. And the nozzle is 10 centimeters above the surface of the water. So here's the surface of the water right like that. Okay, you got a nozzle right here at 10 centimeters above it, spraying an arc that looks like that ka-smash. Now, the cool thing is, if you read the rest of this question, it says, okay, you're at 10 centimeters above, so I'm going to start my axis right here at 10 centimeters, and then it says it sprays to a maximum height of 100 centimeters. So if you look at that, that's 100 centimeters. There's your maximum right at that height right there. Now, the water is at 10 centimeters above the surface of the water when it's hits the water again, hits maybe a sensor or something down here. So that's at 10 centimeters as well. And then it says it's at 120 centimeters from the nozzle. So from here to here, it's 120 centimeters. Very cool. Okay, so with all of that information down, we should be able to figure out some kind of quadratic function out of this mess. Well, the first thing to notice here is that if I draw my axes, like I said, right here and right here, I've got all kinds of points. I've got my maximum point right here, which if you remember is symmetrical, which means that point right here is at exactly 60 centimeters. And this being a maximum, it's at 100 centimeters high. So we can turn around and we can say, okay, 60 centimeters, 100 centimeters, there's my vertex. Okay, beautiful. There's my vertex right there. And I can label this as my P and Q. Wonderful. The other thing that I could put down here is this beautiful point right here. And of course, that is a y-intercept. So at a y-intercept, my x value here is 0, 10. Now, I got all I need now to figure out a beautiful equation. So let's do this in vertex form, and then eventually we may convert it into standard form. So, okay, here's my vertex form. A, x minus p squared plus q. Let's throw our values in. First things first, there's my xy value at 0 and 10. So my y is here at 10. A, of course, is the thing I'm looking for every single time because we don't have A. The graph itself does not give us an A value, but it gives us enough information to figure that out. My x value, of course, is 0. My P is at 60 squared, and my Q, of course, is 100. Excellent. All right, so let's find that A value out right now. So I'm going to extend this a little bit. Come on, thing. There it goes. Okay, so let's start solving this. This is 10 equals to A. 0 minus 60, of course, is 60 squared, and I'll put that as a negative 60 plus 100 because 0 minus 60 is negative 60. It doesn't matter once you square it, it becomes a positive number. And you know and I know that 60 squared, well, 6 squared is 36, but being that it's squared, there's 2 more zeros. So you got 3600A plus 100, okay, equals to 10. That's sitting out here. Now all we have to do is solve, and we've got the A value. So subtract 100 from this side, subtract 100 from this side. That cancels out, giving us 90 here equals to, minus 90 here equals to 3600. A, divide by 3600, divide by 3600. For some people, this might be tough and they'd have to pull out their calculators. But here's the nice thing. If you're smart and you actually think like fractions, this is actually an easy one to figure out. This is 90 minus 90 over 3600. Now, here's how to figure this out. It's really super simple. Zeros cancel, of course, leaving you with negative 9 over 360. Okay, 9 goes into 36. Well, if you think about it, 9 goes into 36 4 times, but you got that extra 0. So it's 40. 9 goes into itself, well, negative 1 times. There it is. There's your A value. Well, that makes it easy. Okay, so let's figure out now, oops, let's extend that. Here we go. Our beautiful little equation in vertex form. Y equals to negative 1 over 40. There's your A value. X minus, well, what was our maximum here? Remember? our maximum was at 60, 100. So let's plug those values back in. X minus 60 squared plus 100. But I want to convert this into standard form. Okay? I don't want it in vertex form. I'm doing standard form here, so let's convert it. Well, this becomes a little bit tougher because look at the big numbers that you're playing with. So what? Let's just do it. Here we go. Okay. Oops. Let's try that. Bring that back a little bit. There it goes. Okay. So this is negative 1 over 40. Remember, this is x squared. So you have to go not just once, but twice. And yep, we're going to have to FOIL that. Plus 100. Okay. Here we go. Let's do some foiling here. X times x gives me x squared. There's minus 60, and minus 60 gives me 120x, okay? And minus 60 times minus 60 is going to give me plus 36, because it's 6 times 6, and of course, 2 zeros, okay? There's the negative 1/40th. Now, the other thing that you have to remember is that you did have an 100 sitting out here. So don't forget that, guy, because if you do, you're going to get an incredibly different answer and it's going to be wrong. Okay, so let's go. Let's see what we can find. Okay, then we have to take this guy and just distribute to every single one of those. Okay, so here we go. Negative 1/40th, x squared. Well, that's easy enough to do, but now we got to go negative 1/40th to 120. Well, let's do this over here. Negative 1/40th times 120. Well, isn't that going to be, if you think about it, and oh yes, don't forget that that in fact is a negative here, so it's negative, making it a positive. Ay, ay, ay. So if you look, negative times a negative makes it a positive 120. 40 times 1 is over 40. Well, check this out. The zeros cancel. 12 divided by 4, well, that's simple enough to do. That's going to be a positive 3x. Wow, that wasn't tough at all. Watch it again when I do this with my fractions when it comes to this one as well. Last thing to distribute in is going to be my negative 1/40th times my 3600. My last thing that we have to do. Of course, that's going to give us negative 3600 over 40. And check this out. The zeros cancel here, giving me negative 360 over 4. Which, if you think about it, is negative 9 because 4 goes into 36 9 times. With that extra 0, there we go, it's negative 90. But, uh-oh, we forgot this guy. It has to go here as well, which was plus 100. All right, let's finish this off. So we got negative 1/40th x squared plus 3x plus 10. Now, do you remember that 10? Do you remember what that meant? That 10 was in fact our y-intercept. Well, let's go back to the original graph and see if that plus 10 shows up as my y-intercept. Here we go. Ready? There it is. There's the plus 10. There's that intercept. So you know you did this question right.